So I'm here with Kristie Daniel of HealthBridge Canada. Welcome, Kristie. So can you tell us a little bit about your organization and the work you do?
Sure. HealthBridge is a Canadian international NGO. We're headquartered in Ottawa, Canada. And we work on a number of different public health programs, but through our Livable Cities program, which I am the director of, we work with low and middle income country partners, so local organizations in low and middle income countries, and we help support them to advocate for healthy public policy in the areas of public spaces. And when we talk about public spaces, we're really referring to the three spaces that are commonly considered. So we're looking at parks, playgrounds, and plazas. So do kids have a safe place to play? We're looking at local public markets, so are people able to access healthy, fresh foods close to where they live? And we're looking at streets, and do those streets support walking and cycling as a mode of transportation?
Interesting, because a lot of those elements showed up in the new urban agenda that arose out of Habitat 3 that we adopted nearly 2 years ago now. Can you tell me a little bit about that and some of the key challenges you see ahead?
Well, I think on the one hand, I think it's extremely exciting that public spaces are so prominent through the new urban agenda and that there's a specific target in the SDGs focused on public spaces. I think the challenge for us in the public space sphere, moving ahead, is that governments are going to have many priorities that they're going to have to try and juggle. So I think our challenge is, as public space advocates, is to explain the ways in which public spaces can help achieve many of the goals and outcomes that cities and national governments are interested in. And so I think that's going to be a major challenge for us moving forward.
So now we're here 2 years later at the World Urban Forum, and the key topic of discussion is implementation of the new urban agenda. Can you tell me a little bit about the implementation side and what's needed to be done?
Sure. So I think from our perspective, because we are supporting the local advocates, I think that ensuring that the local advocates have capacity to be able to hold their governments to account in some ways, to work with their local governments to implement. I think ensuring that they have the capacity is going to be really important moving forward, and I think it's going to be a challenge to do that. I also think that there are lots of opportunities to bring different groups together, and I see this as being a major role for the Center of Future Places, where we can support their capacity in different ways, but we can bring them together in one space. And so I think that's going to be a challenge, but I also think that's a major opportunity, if that's fair.
Yeah. So I think the latest figure to come in is that there's 25,000 people here at the World Urban Forum.
Okay.
You've been having a lot of discussions throughout the week. Can you tell us what are some of the key themes that keep arising?
Well, I think public space is a major theme throughout the entire conference, which has been fantastic to see. I would say if we went a few years ago, I don't know that public spaces would have been as prominent a place as it has at this particular conference. I think a lot of what I have been participating in, and I will admit that I've been having more one-to-one meetings than I have been actually attending the sessions, but I think that what I'm seeing is that there's definitely lots of organizations that want to share information, want to be connected to one another, want to be learning from one another, and that we can't just do that every 2 years. We need to be doing that regularly. We need to be connecting my local partners in India with the experts that are in Denmark and in Stockholm and in Canada and the USA. So we need to make sure that we create something that lasts beyond just or that happens at least more often than every 2 years.
So for HealthBridge then, what are the key takeaways? What are you going home with?
Interestingly enough, one of the things that I have realized throughout this conference is that I am a public health expert, and so and I work in the public space arena because it's so important for public health. And what I realized, I was asked to be a public health expert on a panel, and I realized I almost never talk about public health anymore. It's almost like I've worked it out of my terminology because when you're working with urban planners or transportation planners, you really need to speak their language. But I think public health has a really important role to play. And at the next World Urban Forum, I would like to see a whole lot more public health people speaking that public health language. So it's a bit of a weird takeaway, but
I'm sorry. Michael, we need you to stop typing. We're getting you typing. Yes. Take it from the top.
I'm sorry.
I thought I was in behind.
No worries.
Well, I could see it happening, and then it just distracted me too much. So I thought, okay, I better just stop.
Yeah.
So what was the question again?
Your key takeaways. So I'll reframe that, and then you
Sure.
can kind of pick up on some of the stuff you went. But
Sure.
no, I'm trying to remember how I framed it. Okay, yeah. So can you tell me about some of the key takeaways that HealthBridge will go home with from the World Urban Forum?
So one of the key takeaways for me is that, this is a bit of an unusual one, but I was asked to be a public health expert on a panel, and I realized when I was asked to speak about the public health implications of public spaces, and the public health implications are huge for public spaces, that I had worked out the health language out of the way that I speak about the work that we do. Mm-hmm. And so when we're talking to urban transportation planners, we take on the language of urban transportation planners. When we're meeting with government officials, we typically are focused on the economic benefits, and we're not really doing a great job of explaining that if we don't build our public spaces well, we are actually killing people. So we need safe places for children to go and play, because if they don't, then they're going to be at home playing video games, and the amount of adult onset diabetes that are now being present in children is skyrocketing. That's a problem that we need to be able to fix through public spaces. If we create our streets so that it's only for cars and not for walking and cycling, we're actually killing people by doing that. And when we don't give people access to healthy, fresh food, that has huge implications for their health as they go forward. But I almost never talk about that anymore. And so I think moving forward, number one, I need to be articulating that message much more clearly and much more often when I'm working with our partners and our local governments. But I also think I need to bring a lot more of my health colleagues to the next World Urban Forum, because this is the place where our cities are being built and decided, and where people are coming together. And so for so many of the health problems, if we're not present here, we're missing a huge opportunity to actually have an impact. And
it's really, cities are very multi-sectoral, so
Absolutely.
That's fundamental, really.
Absolutely.
So, very good point. Can you tell me a little bit about the collaboration between HealthBridge and the Center for the Future of Places?
So the collaboration between HealthBridge and the Center for Future of Places is really important to us. So we are the local advocates. We're the people that are working on the ground. We are the ones that are working with our local governments to try and integrate public spaces into public policy. What we're not always so great at is doing the evaluation and keeping track of the process that we have undertaken in order to achieve those policies. And I think we have really, really great stories to tell, but we're so busy implementing and we're so busy that we aren't taking the time that it takes to understand the process that happened and to be able to then articulate that to other people. And so I really see what the Center of Future Places can do to support us is to help us evaluate and to tell our story, so that we can then share our great stories with all of the other public space advocates that are out there. And I hope that in turn you have access then to a great group of people who are doing some really fantastic work, so that you can then take their work and share it broadly with everyone. So I think our partnership is going to be very, very important moving forward.
Very much a learning opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you very much, Kristie.
You're welcome. Thank you.